Hello students, in today's class, let us learn about unit cell and lattice parameters. So in the last class, we have discussed about crystal structure and crystal lattice. We learned that a crystal lattice is a representation of a crystal with each point representing an atom in the crystal. So the distribution of points in the space given by the crystal lattice is the representation of the crystal structure. So since in a crystal we know atoms are arranged periodically, which is the basic property of a crystal, we know in a crystal lattice as well, the arrangement of points in the space will be periodic and orderly. So as you can see here, this is a representation of a particular crystal lattice, and you can see the orderly arrangement of each point in the space. Here each point stands for an atom in the real lattice. So automatically we can see that this whole structure of crystal lattice can be built from some basic structure, or this three-dimensional arrangement of points is actually just a repetition of one unit cell. So that you can see that there is a basic unit in this crystal lattice, and which when repeated along all directions will yield you the complete crystal lattice. So you can see here this cube shaped part, and at each of the corners of this cube we have points, and if this single unit is repeated along all directions, we will get the complete crystal lattice, right? And that basic unit is called the unit cell of a crystal. So this unit cell can be thought to be the building block of a crystal lattice. So you can see here in the case of this crystal lattice, the building block or the basic structural unit is given by this unit cell. So if you repeat this unit cell along all directions like this, so I am constructing another unit cell here, then I am constructing another unit cell above this, and if I repeat like that in all directions, I can get the complete crystal lattice. So this is the basic building block. Unit cell is the basic building block of a crystal lattice. So you can see here we had one unit cell and I repeated it along another direction. I have put 4 unit cells here and I am getting a part of the crystal lattice. Similarly, if it is repeated along the other directions, you will get the complete crystal structure, the crystal lattice. So that is the definition of the unit cell. You can see it as the building block of a crystal structure of the crystal lattice. And if you look into a unit cell, some of the defining parameters are the vectors that form the basics of these unit cells. So you can see here, this is another unit cell. The earlier seen unit cell is a cube shaped one. So here in this picture you can see a cube shaped unit cell, and one important parameter of this unit cell is the lattice parameter. So you can see here this unit cell can be thought to be formed by 3 vectors. So you can see here, first vector I define along the x-axis as vector A, then the second vector along the second dimension, which is defined by vector B, and the third vector along the third dimension, which is defined by vector C. And we also define the angles between these vectors like alpha, beta and gamma. So you can see here this is not a cube shaped unit cell, this is a slanted one, and if you repeat this unit cell along all directions, you can form a slanted crystal or a slanted crystal structure. So in this unit cell you can see there are 3 vectors given by A bar, B bar and C bar, and here vector A, B and C are not mutually perpendicular. So this is vector A, this is vector B, and here this is vector C, and we also define the angles between them, alpha, beta and gamma. Please note that alpha is the angle between vector B and C, beta is the angle between the other two axes A and C, and gamma is the angle between A and B. So if we know these three vectors given by A, B, C, and if you also have an idea about the angles in between them given by alpha, beta and gamma, then effectively we will be able to construct the complete crystal structure, the complete lattice structure from these parameters, right? So you can first draw the vector A bar, then you can put a point at the end, right? Then you can try to construct vector B bar, then put another point at the end. Then try to draw the vector C bar and put another point at the end. So keep in mind to fix the angles like alpha in between B and C, beta in between A and C, and gamma in between A and B. So similarly put points like that, and similarly you can also define other points. Here vector A like that, here also you construct a vector A and like that. So you can recreate the entire crystal if you have an idea about these vectors A, B and C, and also about alpha, beta and gamma. So these are the basic vectors and angles that define the crystal lattice, and these vectors and angles are together called the lattice parameters. In fact, if you just know about these three vectors A, B and C, that is sufficient for you to construct the entire crystal lattice, because vector involves both magnitude and direction. So this angle just adds to the fact that there exists some direction for each of these vectors. So we can effectively define lattice parameters as these vectors A, B and C, as well as the angles alpha, beta and gamma in between them, that defines a unit cell, and from which you can actually construct a unit cell. And if you construct a unit cell, you know you can construct the entire crystal lattice and the full structure will be known to you. And for a simple analysis, we can try to define the lattice parameters of a cubic system. So you know, in a cube you have mutually perpendicular axes. So at the ends you have atoms. So you can see here vector A, vector B and vector C. Its magnitudes are equal, right? In a cube, you know, all the axes have equal length. So here A equal to B equal to C. All the vectors will be having same length. And we know in a cube, all the axes are arranged perpendicular to each other. So that means the angle between these vectors will be 90 degrees. So in a cubical system, if atoms are arranged at the corners of a cube, then the lattice parameters are like this: A equal to B equal to C, and alpha equal to beta equal to gamma equal to 90 degrees. So this is just one kind of arrangement of atoms in a crystal. You can arrange crystal lattice in a very different types of way by varying these relations of A, B and C, as well as alpha, beta and gamma. So in the earlier picture, we saw another type of unit cell with very different A, B and C, as well as alpha, beta and gamma. So it has been found that if you try to make all the different types of unit cells by having various relations for A, B and C, as well as alpha, beta and gamma, basically we will be able to construct seven different types of crystal systems. We will learn about each of these crystal systems in detail. So the concept is that if we have this A, B and C and alpha, beta and gamma, we term these as lattice parameters, and we said that these can completely define a unit cell. How the unit cell will look will be defined by these vectors and these angles called the lattice parameters. So you can construct it in different way, like as shown in this picture. Here you have one kind of unit cell. Here you have a cubical type of unit cell. So effectively you can construct very different type of unit cells just by varying these lattice parameters. So it is proved that you can actually construct 7 crystal systems with varying relations of A, B and C, as well as alpha, beta and gamma. So they are called the cubic system, then the tetragonal system, orthorhombic system, hexagonal, triclinic, monoclinic and rhombohedral. What is different between them are these lattice parameters, and they look differently, right? Here we have a cubical system, here we have a completely different arrangement because vector A, B and C are not equal here and the angle is not 90 degrees as well. So we will learn about these crystal systems in the coming class. And Bravai, one scientist in the field of crystallography, he also defined that within these 7 crystal systems, we can have actually 14 different types of atomic arrangements, and those are called Bravai lattices. So we have said that there are 7 different crystal systems, right? So these are the 7 different crystal systems we know about. They have different relations for their lattice parameters, and within these crystal systems, for example in the cubic system, you can have different arrangement of atoms. You can either arrange the atoms at the corner, then you can put one another atom at the center, then you can put atoms at the face centers. So you will have 3 different types of systems within the cubic crystal system itself. So in that way, for each of the crystal system, you can construct different types of lattices by taking different atomic arrangements. And those systems that we finally obtain, those different types of atomic arrangements are termed as Bravai lattices. We will look into this Bravai lattices and different types of it in the coming class. So as of now, the concept that I need to convey to you is that we can have different types of crystal systems and different types of atomic arrangements by varying these parameters, these lattice parameters. And these lattice parameters can completely define a unit cell. If we just know about these lattice parameters, you can construct one unit cell. And if you can construct one unit cell, you can construct the entire crystal lattice. So that is the concept that lies with the term translation vector. So just as a side note, I will mention about translation vector. So I have said we have studied about the lattice vectors, right? This is a 2-dimensional lattice. So here we can have 2 lattice vectors. Let me call that A bar and B bar. So A bar is the vector along the first dimension and B bar is the lattice vector, lattice parameter along the second dimension. These are actually called fundamental translation vector because they connect 2 adjacent atoms like this. And if you know about these lattice vectors A bar and B bar, then this can help us to move from the origin point O to any other point in the crystal lattice. Suppose for example, we take this point as our origin. So this is our origin, and suppose you want to move from origin up to the point given by A2. So can you do that? You will have to move 1, 2, 3, 4 A bar and 1 B bar, right? So in order to reach the point A2, the vector A2 that connects the origin and the point say P, it is given by 4 A bar plus 1 B bar. What is actually A1? The vector A1? Vector A1 is actually 3 A bar plus 2 B bar, right? You have to move 3 times along the vector A direction and 2 times along the vector B direction. So I can write vector A1 to be equal to 3 A bar plus 2 B bar. Similarly, vector B1 is simply B bar. What is vector B2? Try it on your notebook. Try it as an assignment. Try to define vector B2 in terms of the basic fundamental translation vectors A bar and B bar. So the idea is that if you define an origin and if you want to move from the origin should be a lattice point, okay? And if you have to move from the origin to any other lattice point, then that vector can be defined as in terms of the fundamental translation vectors. So if you just happen to know about one lattice point, and if you know about the lattice parameter a bar, b bar and c, or a bar and b bar in 2 dimension, then you can effectively construct the entire crystal lattice from that. How do you construct that? You move a bar distance along the x direction and put a point there. Then you move 2 a bar distant and put a point there. Then 3 a bar and put a point there, and so on. Similarly, you move 1 b bar distance along the second dimension, put a point there, and 2 b bar and put a point there. Then 1 a bar plus 1 b bar and put a point there. Then 1 a bar plus 2 b bar and put a point there. So in this way you can actually construct the full lattice structure, the full crystal lattice. Or this lattice vectors can be thought to be a vector connecting the origin and a lattice point, or vector connecting 2 lattice points. These fundamental translation vectors are the same as the lattice parameter vectors. Fundamental translation vector, as we have seen here, are same as the lattice parameters vector a bar, b bar. In 2 dimension we will have 2 vectors. In 3 dimension we will have to say 3 vectors. So generally we can define the translation vector t as any integer into a bar plus another integer into b bar. If it is in 3 dimension, another integer into c bar. So in the earlier example we defined 2 of the lattice vectors. You can see that a2 is 4 a bar plus 1 b bar. Similarly, a1 is 3 a bar plus 2 b bar. In a similar manner, if you have to move from the origin to any other point in the lattice, you will have to just move n1 a bar plus n2 b bar. If it is 3 dimensional, an n3 c bar has to be moved in the 3rd dimension. So this is the concept about translation vector. This is just a vector that connects 2 lattice points in the space in the crystal lattice. And if you know about the fundamental translation vector, which are the same as the lattice parameters, then you can construct the entire crystal lattice and you can move from one point in the crystal lattice to another one through these vectors. So these are the important concepts that I would like to discuss today. I hope that the concept of unit cell and that of lattice parameters as well as the translation vector is clear for you. Based on the lattice parameters, we studied that we can have 7 different crystal systems by varying these lattice parameters, and within this 7 crystal systems, we can have 14 different Bravais lattices by having different atomic arrangements. So I hope this portion is clear for you. Thank you.